Captain Ethan Cole sat in his command chair on the bridge of the Earth Fleet ship Intrepid. His eyes were fixed on the main screen where a strange signal flashed. The ship's computers had picked up a distress call from deep space from the Andromeda sector. "Captain, I've decoded the signal," said Maya, the communications officer. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel. "It's from an Astrali ship." Ethan leaned forward. The Astrali were known throughout the galaxy as an advanced alien race. Their skin glowed with its own light, and their technology was far beyond what humans had achieved. They rarely asked for help, especially from humans. "Put it on screen," Ethan ordered. The main screen flickered and a holographic message appeared. A female Astrali with shimmering blue skin looked directly at them. Even through the hologram, her fear was clear. The royal markings on her face identified her as Princess Lyra Jen, heir to the Astrali throne. "This is Princess Lyra of the Astrali Empire. My ship has been taken by void-born pirates. They plan to use me for their experiments. If anyone receives this message, please inform my mother." "Queen Nara, do not attempt rescue. It's too dangerous," the message ended. But the distress beacon continued to pulse, showing the location of the princess's ship. "Orders, sir?" asked Samantha, his tactical officer. Her hand hovered over the weapons control. Ethan knew what Earth Command would say. The standing orders were clear. Investigate unusual signals, but do not interfere in conflicts between alien races. Especially not with the Voidborn, a species known for their violence and unpredictability. They had evolved in the empty spaces between galaxies. Their bodies adapted to survive the harshest conditions. Their skin was like armor, and they could live in the vacuum of space. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we've detected an Astrali distress signal and request permission to investigate," Ethan said, knowing full well what the answer would be. Within minutes, the reply came. "Continue your patrol route. Do not engage. Diplomatic channels will handle the situation." The crew looked at Ethan, waiting for his next order. He stood up and walked to the navigation station. "Plot a course to intercept the Astrali ship," he said quietly. The navigation officer looked surprised. "Sir, that's against orders." Ethan nodded. "I know. But sometimes being human means risking everything for those who cannot save themselves. I'll take full responsibility." The crew exchanged glances. What the captain proposed could end his career or worse, could cause a diplomatic incident between Earth and the Voidborn. But they trusted him. "Course plotted, sir," the navigation officer said after a moment. "Engage," Ethan ordered. The Intrepid changed direction, its engines powering up as it headed toward the source of the distress signal. As they traveled, Dr. Liam Ward, the ship's xenobiologist, brought up information about the Voidborn on the main screen. "They're collectors," Dr. Ward explained. "They gather genetic material from advanced species throughout the galaxy. According to our intelligence, they're particularly interested in the Astrali because of their unique DNA. The princess would be an especially valuable capture for them." "What would they do with her?" Olivia, the combat specialist, asked. "Experiments, most likely," Dr. Ward replied grimly. "They're trying to evolve their own species to adapt and improve themselves using the genetic material of others." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then we need to move fast." After 3 days of travel at maximum speed, they reached the coordinates. The Voidborn ship came into view on their screens. It was massive, at least 5 times the size of the Intrepid. Its dark metal hull was covered with sharp spikes that jutted out in all directions, making it look like a giant sea urchin floating in space. "Scan for life forms," Ethan ordered. "Hundreds of Voidborn signatures," Samantha reported. "And one Astrali life sign, faint but stable." "She's alive, Captain." Ethan studied the scans of the alien vessel. A direct assault would be suicide. The Voidborn ship had powerful weapons and strong shields. They needed another way in. "Look for weaknesses," he told his crew. "A maintenance hatch, a blind spot in their sensors, anything we can use." After careful scanning, Samantha found something. "There's a maintenance port near the back of the ship. It's small, but our shuttle could fit through it. Their sensors don't seem to be focused on that area." "Good work," Ethan said. "Now we need a plan to get aboard, find the princess, and get out without being detected." As they prepared for the rescue mission, Ethan received a private message in his quarters. When he opened it, he was shocked to see the face of Queen Nara Jen herself, the ruler of the Astrali Empire. "Captain Cole," she said, her voice both commanding and desperate, "I know you've received my daughter's distress call. I know you're planning a rescue against your orders. Ethan was speechless. How did she know? The Astrali have ways of seeing beyond normal space, she continued as if reading his thoughts. I cannot send our own ships. The Voidborn would detect them immediately and kill Lyra. But a small human vessel might succeed where we would fail. We'll do everything we can to save her. Your Majesty, Ethan promised. The Queen's expression became even more serious. Understand this, Captain. If you succeed in rescuing my daughter, your fate will be bound to ours forever. This is not a request. It is the way it must be. Before Ethan could ask what she meant, the transmission ended. He returned to the bridge, troubled by the Queen's words but more determined than ever. He selected his team, himself Samantha for tactics, Dr. Ward for his knowledge of Voidborn biology, Olivia for combat skills, and Maya for communications. We'll take the shuttle, disguised as space debris, he told them. Once aboard, we'll locate the princess and bring her back. If anything goes wrong, the Intrepid will create a diversion to cover our escape. As they prepared to board the shuttle, Ethan looked at his small team. They were risking everything, their careers, possibly their lives, to save a princess from an alien race they barely understood. But it felt right. It felt human. What Ethan didn't know was that Queen Nara was still watching him through quantum relays that spanned the vast distance between them. And she wasn't the only one aware of their approach. Deep within the Voidborn ship, sensors had already detected the human vessel, and preparations were being made to welcome the uninvited guests. The shuttle moved slowly toward the Voidborn ship. From the outside, it looked like a piece of space junk, its hull covered with scorch marks and fake damage. Inside, Ethan and his team checked their gear one last time. Remember, we move quietly, Ethan said. Our goal is to get in and out without anyone knowing we were there. Samantha studied her screen, which showed a map of the Voidborn ship based on their scans. The security system will be a problem. It's not like ours. It learns and adapts to threats. Then we'll have to be unpredictable, Ethan replied. He turned to Dr. Ward. What can you tell us about how they think? The xenobiologist adjusted his glasses. The Voidborn evolved in chaos. They don't follow patterns like we do. To avoid their security, we should do the same. Make random turns, change speed, never move in a straight line for too long. As they neared the maintenance port, Maya guided the shuttle with expert precision. The port was barely bigger than their small craft, leaving only inches of clearance on each side. Hold on, she warned as she eased the shuttle through the narrow opening. They entered a dark docking area filled with repair equipment and spare parts. As soon as they landed, Olivia checked the air quality. Breathable, but it smells strange, she reported. Like metal and something. Organic. They put on their suits anyway. The suits would hide their human heat signatures and provide protection if they encountered trouble. Leaving the shuttle, they moved into the main part of the ship. What they saw amazed them. The inside of the Voidborn vessel was unlike any ship they had seen before. The walls seemed alive, pulsing with veins of glowing blue liquid. The floor wasn't solid metal, but a soft rubbery material that adjusted to their weight as they walked. It's part machine, part living organism, Dr. Ward whispered, scanning the walls with his device. Fascinating. Save the science for later, Ethan said. We need to find the princess. They moved through narrow corridors, following Samantha's directions based on the Astrali life sign they had detected. They avoided the main hallways where Voidborn crew members might spot them. After 20 minutes of careful movement, they reached a section of the ship that seemed more heavily guarded. Two Voidborn stood outside a sealed door. They were tall, with gray skin that looked like armor. Their eyes were large and black, designed for seeing in the darkness of space. That must be where they're keeping her, Ethan whispered. Olivia readied her stun weapon. I can take them out silently. Wait, Dr. Ward said. Look at the pattern on the floor. It's different here, he was right. The floor near the guards had subtle lines running through it, forming a grid pattern. Alarm system, Samantha guessed. We need another way in. They backtracked and found a maintenance shaft that ran above the detention area. Climbing inside, they crawled through tight spaces filled with pipes and wiring until they were directly above the room where the princess was held. Ethan carefully removed a panel from the floor of the shaft, creating an opening into the room below. He peered down and saw Princess Lyra. She was lying on what looked like an examination table surrounded by strange equipment. Her normally bright skin seemed dull, its glow faded. "Cover me," Ethan said and dropped down into the room. The princess's eyes opened at the sound. When she saw Ethan, she didn't look relieved. Instead, she seemed concerned. "You shouldn't have come," she said, her voice weak but clear. "We're here to rescue you, Your Highness," Ethan explained, working to release the restraints that held her to the table. "You don't understand," Lyra said. "I'm not a prisoner in the way you think." Before she could explain further, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside. "They've detected us," Samantha called down from the shaft. "We need to move now." Ethan helped the princess to her feet. She was taller than him, with delicate features and skin that shimmered between blue and green. Despite her apparent weakness, she moved with natural grace. "There's something you need to know," Lyra said as Ethan helped her toward the shaft where the others waited. "I came to this ship on purpose." "What?" Ethan was shocked. "But your distress call was part of my plan," she admitted. "I needed to get on this ship to find something very important." A loud crash came from the corridor as the door to the room was forced open. 3 void-born soldiers rushed in, their weapons raised. Olivia dropped down from the shaft and fired her stun weapon. The first 2 void-born fell, but the third dodged the blast and charged toward them. Dr. Ward tossed a small device onto the floor. It exploded in a flash of blinding light, disorienting the void-born soldier long enough for Ethan to pull both the princess and Olivia back toward the shaft. "Up, now," he ordered. Once they were all safely in the maintenance shaft, they began crawling as fast as they could toward their entry point. The alarms continued to blare behind them. "What did you come here to find?" Ethan asked the princess as they moved. "The Voidborn have star maps," Lyra explained between breaths. "Ancient maps that show the location of the Nexus, a place of great power left by the Forerunners, the beings who seeded life throughout the galaxies." "And why is this Nexus so important?" Samantha asked. "It contains knowledge that could change everything," Lyra said. "The Voidborn want to use it to rewrite their own genetic code, to evolve beyond their current form. But if they do it wrong, it could destroy not just them but many other species too." They reached a junction in the maintenance shaft. According to their plan, they should turn left to head back to their shuttle. But Voidborn voices came from that direction. They were trapped. "This way," Lyra suddenly said, pointing right. "There's an emergency escape pod section down this path." "How do you know that?" Maya asked suspiciously. "I've been studying their ship designs for months," Lyra replied. "Trust me." Ethan made a quick decision. "We follow the princess." They turned right and continued through the cramped space until they reached another panel. Ethan opened it carefully and looked out into a large room filled with small pod-like structures, escape vessels for the Voidborn crew in case of ship failure. They dropped down into the room just as a group of Voidborn soldiers burst in from the main entrance. A firefight broke out immediately. Olivia and Samantha returned fire, while Ethan and the others took cover behind the escape pods. In the chaos, a stray energy blast hit the wall near where they were hiding. The explosion knocked them all to the ground. When Ethan looked up, he saw Olivia lying motionless, a severe burn across her chest where the blast had hit her. "She's badly hurt," Dr. Ward said, examining the wound. "I don't have the right equipment to treat this." To everyone's surprise, Princess Lyra knelt beside Olivia. "I can help her." The princess placed her hands over Olivia's wound. A soft golden light flowed from her palms into the injured woman. The burned tissue began to heal before their eyes, the damaged skin repairing itself. When it was done, Olivia took a deep breath and opened her eyes. She was healed, but Lyra looked much weaker than before. The glow of her skin had dimmed even further. "How did you do that?" Ethan asked in amazement. "The Astrali have abilities beyond what you understand," Lyra said simply. "But it comes at a cost. I've given her some of my own life energy. Why would you do that for someone you don't even know?" Ethan helped the princess to her feet. "Because this is what separates us from them, Captain," she said softly. "The willingness to sacrifice for others." The sounds of battle had momentarily died down. They needed to move quickly before more Voidborn arrived. "Can you make it to the shuttle?" Ethan asked Lyra. She nodded, though she looked unsteady. Just as they prepared to leave the escape pod room, Ethan's communicator vibrated. It was another encrypted message, and like before, it was from Queen Nara. The message was brief but chilling. "The princess carries within her the key to the Nexus. If she falls into void-born hands again, all worlds will suffer. You must protect her at all costs, Captain Cole. This burden is now yours to bear. Ethan looked at Lyra with new understanding. She wasn't just a princess in danger. She was carrying something that could affect the fate of many worlds, including Earth. Let's go, he said with renewed determination. We're getting you out of here no matter what. The journey back to their shuttle was dangerous. Alarms still blared throughout the void-born ship, and groups of soldiers searched everywhere for them. With Princess Lyra weakened from healing Olivia, they moved more slowly than before. We need to hurry, Samantha said, checking her tactical display. They're setting up blockades at all major junctions. They took a different route back, using service tunnels that were barely tall enough to stand in. The air was hot and stale, and strange noises echoed through the metal walls. Dr. Ward led the way, using his knowledge of ship designs to guide them. The shuttle should be just ahead, he said after nearly an hour of careful movement. They emerged into the docking area where they had left their shuttle. To their relief, it was still there and appeared undamaged. But as they approached, Ethan noticed something wrong. Wait, he said, holding up his hand. The entry hatch is open. They took cover behind some cargo containers. Ethan signaled to Olivia, who now looked fully recovered thanks to Lyra's healing. Olivia nodded and moved silently toward the shuttle, her weapon ready. She peered inside, then turned back with a grim expression. 2 Voidborn inside waiting for us. They knew we'd come back for our ship, Maya whispered. Ethan considered their options. They couldn't leave without the shuttle, but a firefight might bring more Voidborn soldiers. I have an idea, Princess Lyra said. She reached into a hidden pocket in her clothing and pulled out a small crystal device. This is an Astrali mind clouder. It creates confusion in certain types of brains. Will it work on Voidborn? Ethan asked. For a short time, yes, Lyra replied. But we'll need to get close. They came up with a plan. Maya, who was the smallest of the group, would crawl underneath the shuttle with the crystal device. When in position, she would activate it, affecting the Voidborn inside. Then Ethan and Olivia would rush in and subdue them before they recovered. The plan worked perfectly. When Maya activated the crystal, they heard confused shouts from inside the shuttle. Ethan and Olivia moved quickly, stunning the disoriented Voidborn before they could call for help. Everyone in now, Ethan ordered once they had dragged the unconscious Voidborn out. They boarded the shuttle and sealed the hatch. Maya took the pilot seat and started the engines while Samantha contacted the Intrepid. Intrepid, this is rescue team. We have the package and are leaving the Voidborn vessel. Request immediate extraction and covering fire. Copy that, rescue team, came the reply from the ship. Moving into position now. The shuttle lifted off from the docking bay and moved toward the maintenance port they had entered through. But as they approached, metal doors began to close over the opening. They're sealing us in, Maya shouted, pushing the engines to full power. The shuttle shot forward, barely making it through the narrowing gap. The tip of one wing scraped against the closing door, sending sparks flying. Once outside, they saw the Intrepid moving into position, its weapons firing at the Voidborn ship to provide cover. The massive alien vessel was now fully alert, its own weapons powering up. Evasive maneuvers, Ethan commanded as energy blasts from the Voidborn ship streaked past them. Maya piloted the shuttle with incredible skill, dodging the attacks while racing toward the Intrepid's open docking bay. Behind them, 3 smaller Voidborn craft launched in pursuit. They're gaining on us, Samantha warned, watching the sensors. The Intrepid continued to fire, trying to keep the pursuers at bay. One of the Voidborn craft was hit and spun out of control, but the other 2 kept coming. We're not going to make it, Maya said, her voice tense as she pushed the shuttle beyond its limits. Princess Lyra moved to stand behind her. Let me help. She placed her hands on Maya's shoulders. A soft glow spread from the princess's fingers, and Maya gasped as new energy flowed into her. Her movements became faster, more precise, as if she and the shuttle were becoming one. I can see the patterns in their attacks now, Maya said in wonder. I can predict where they'll fire next. With this new awareness, she guided the shuttle in a series of impossible maneuvers, avoiding every blast from the pursuing ships. They reached the Intrepid's docking bay and landed roughly but safely. We're in, Ethan reported over the comm. Get us out of here. The moment the docking bay doors closed, the Intrepid jumped to high speed, leaving the Voidborn ship behind. But their troubles weren't over. The princess collapsed as soon as they were safe, her skin now barely glowing at all. "Medical bay now," Ethan ordered, lifting Lyra's limp form in his arms. In the medical bay, Dr. Ward examined the princess while the ship's doctor assisted. Their expressions grew increasingly concerned. "Her life signs are fading," the doctor reported. "It's as if her energy is being drained from within." "It's the healing she performed," Dr. Ward explained. "First for Olivia, then helping Maya. She gave too much of herself." Ethan paced anxiously. "There must be something we can do." "Our medical knowledge of Astrali physiology is limited," the doctor admitted. "She needs care from her own people." Ethan went to the bridge and ordered an emergency course to the Astrali homeworld. But before they could engage the engines, Maya detected another transmission cutting through their communications blackout. "It's Queen Nara again," she said, surprised. The Queen's holographic form appeared on the bridge. Unlike before, she now looked worried, the patterns on her skin shifting rapidly. "Captain Cole, I can sense my daughter's condition. She is fading." "We're setting course for your homeworld now, Your Majesty," Ethan said. "No." The Queen's response was sharp. "You cannot bring her here. The Voidborn have allies blockading our system. They were prepared for this." "Then where?" "She needs medical attention that we can't provide." The Queen's image flickered. "There is an ancient Astrali outpost on the fourth moon of Proxima Centauri. It contains technology that can stabilize her condition and protect the key she carries." Proxima Centauri was the star system nearest to Earth's sun, just over 4 light-years away. It would take them several days to reach it, even at maximum speed. "Will she survive that long?" Ethan asked. "I do not know," the Queen admitted, "but it is her only chance and ours." Ethan gave the order to set course for Proxima Centauri. As the ship prepared to jump, sensors detected 3 Voidborn vessels emerging from hyperspace behind them. "They've found us already," Samantha reported. "And these aren't ordinary ships. They're scythes." "What are scythes?" Ethan asked. "Elite hunting vessels," Dr. Ward explained, having just returned from the medical bay. "They're partly biological, designed specifically for tracking and capturing high-value targets. They can follow an Astrali's energy signature across vast distances. They're launching boarding pods," Samantha shouted as the first impacts rocked the Intrepid's hull. Ethan made a quick decision. "Engage engines now, maximum speed to Proxima Centauri. All crew to battle stations. Prepare to repel boarders." As the Intrepid accelerated away, the first Voidborn boarding parties were already breaking through the hull in multiple locations. The ship would be under attack from within during the entire journey. Ethan returned to the medical bay to check on Princess Lyra. She was conscious again, but very weak, Captain, she whispered when she saw him. "You need to know about their leader." "Save your strength," Ethan said gently. "No, this is important." Lyra's voice was urgent despite her weakness. "The commander of those ships is called Dorak. He's not like other Voidborn. He can change his appearance to look like any species he touches. He's the perfect infiltrator." "How do we identify him?" Ethan asked, realizing the danger this posed. "You can't, not easily," Lyra admitted. "But he carries a scar on his right hand that never changes, no matter what form he takes." A loud explosion somewhere in the ship interrupted their conversation. The battle had begun. "I need to coordinate our defense," Ethan said, rising to leave. Lyra caught his hand. "Captain." "Ethan, there's something else you should know. What my mother told you about your fate being bound to ours." She wasn't speaking figuratively. "What do you mean?" "There's a prophecy among my people," Lyra explained, "about a guardian from another world who would risk everything to save the royal line, and in doing so become something new. Something neither human nor Astrali, but both." Ethan didn't know how to respond to this. Before he could formulate a reply, his communicator beeped urgently. "Captain, we need you on Deck C." Samantha's voice was strained. "The Voidborn have breached the main corridor." "I have to go," Ethan told the princess. "We'll talk more about this prophecy when you're stronger." As he hurried to join the defense of his ship, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that his life was changing in ways he couldn't understand. The Queen's words echoed in his mind. "Your fate will be bound to ours forever." Whatever that meant, he knew one thing for certain. He would protect Princess Lyra with his life if necessary. Not just because of duty or prophecy, but because in the short time he had known her, he had seen her selfless courage, risking her own life to save his crew members. That was something worth fighting for, Worth risking everything for. The battle aboard the Intrepid was unlike anything Ethan had ever experienced. The Voidborn boarding parties moved with terrifying efficiency, their armor-like skin deflecting standard weapons. Only by adjusting their phase rifles to match the frequency of Princess Lyra's biological sample could they penetrate the invaders' natural defenses. Aim for the joints in their exoskeletons. Ethan ordered his security teams as they defended Deck C. That's where their protection is weakest. Samantha coordinated the defense from a makeshift command post in the mess hall. Her tactical display showed multiple breaches throughout the ship. They're moving toward the medical bay, she warned Ethan. They know the princess is there. Redirect Team 2 to reinforce the medical bay, Ethan commanded. I'll lead Team 1 to flank the main Voidborn group. The fighting was intense in close quarters. The Voidborn used strange weapons that fired bursts of dark energy, leaving scorch marks on the walls and floors. Anyone hit directly would be instantly paralyzed. Ethan's team moved through service corridors, coming around behind a group of 8 Voidborn soldiers who were advancing toward the medical bay. They opened fire, taking down 3 before the others could react. The remaining Voidborn turned and charged, forcing Ethan and his team to retreat. Fall back to Junction 7, Ethan shouted. We'll bottleneck them there. The plan worked. The narrow corridor at Junction 7 forced the Voidborn to come at them one at a time. After a fierce firefight, all the attackers were down. But 2 of Ethan's team had been hit and were now paralyzed. Get them to safety, Ethan told the others. I'll check on the princess. When he reached the medical bay, he found Dr. Ward and 4 security officers standing guard. Inside, Princess Lyra was sitting up on her bed, looking slightly stronger than before. The ship's doctor found a way to stabilize me temporarily, she explained when she saw Ethan's surprised expression. It won't last long, but it helps. We've pushed back their first wave, Ethan reported. But there will be more. How long until we reach Proxima Centauri? Lyra asked. 3 days at our current speed, Ethan replied. Can you hold out that long? The princess nodded, though her eyes showed doubt. I must, Ethan's communicator beeped. It was Maya from the bridge. Captain, we've got a problem. Our engines are taking damage from some kind of energy the Voidborn are using. At this rate, we'll never make it to Proxima Centauri. This was bad news. Without their engines at full power, they couldn't outrun the pursuing Voidborn ships, and the constant boarding attacks would eventually overwhelm them. We need another option, Ethan said, thinking quickly. Is there any place closer where we could find help or at least temporary shelter? Princess Lyra considered this. There's a nebula not far from here, the Ceres Nebula. Its dust and gas clouds could mask our energy signature from the Voidborn ships, at least for a while. Maya, did you hear that? Ethan asked over the comm. Yes, Captain. Setting course for the Ceres Nebula now. The Intrepid changed direction, heading for the dense cloud of cosmic dust and gas that might provide them with temporary safety. They reached it just as another wave of boarding pods struck the hull. All hands prepare for close combat. Ethan's voice echoed through the ship's announcement system. Defend your sections at all costs. This second wave of Voidborn seemed even more determined than the first. They fought with a single-minded focus, caring nothing for their own safety as they pushed deeper into the ship. During a particularly fierce encounter near the engine room, Ethan noticed something strange about one of the fallen Voidborn soldiers. Unlike the others, this one's skin was changing color, shifting between the gray of Voidborn and the blue of Astrali. Dr. Ward, Ethan called over his communicator. I need you in the engine room now. Bring a specimen container. When the xenobiologist arrived, Ethan showed him the strange Voidborn. Fascinating, Dr. Ward murmured, taking samples. This one is different. Almost as if what? Ethan pressed. As if it's not fully Voidborn, Dr. Ward said, studying his readings. There are traces of Astrali DNA here, extensively modified. This was troubling news. Ethan remembered what Princess Lyra had told him about Dorak, the Voidborn commander who could change his appearance. Could there be some connection? He returned to the medical bay to discuss this with Lyra, but found her condition had worsened again. The temporary treatment was wearing off. The nebula is helping, she said weakly. I can feel the Voidborn scanners searching but failing to locate my exact position. But I need to reach the outpost soon. We found something strange, Ethan told her. A Voidborn soldier whose DNA seems to be partly Astrali. Lyra's eyes widened. That's impossible unless... She paused, considering. Unless Dorak has gone further with his experiments than we thought, he may be trying to merge Voidborn and Astrali genetics already. Without the Nexus? Ethan asked. The results would be unstable, imperfect, Lyra explained. But it might work to some degree. This is even more dangerous than I feared. Their conversation was interrupted by another call from the bridge. Captain, our sensors are picking up energy fluctuations in the nebula, Maya reported. The gas is becoming charged somehow. Dr. Ward, who had joined them in the medical bay, looked alarmed. The Voidborn must be using some kind of energy weapon to excite the nebula particles. If they keep this up, the whole cloud could ignite. Can we move deeper into the nebula? Ethan asked. Negative, Maya replied. The density increases too much. We'd lose maneuverability. They were trapped. The nebula that had been their shelter was now becoming a potential death trap. If it ignited, the Intrepid would be caught in a massive wave of superheated gas. We need to leave the nebula, Ethan decided. Plot the fastest course to Proxima Centauri. But Captain, Samantha objected, our engines are still damaged. We won't make it there before the Voidborn catch us. I may be able to help with that, Princess Lyra said. Though she was weak, her voice was determined. If I can access your engine control systems, I might be able to modify them using Astrali principles. That could kill you in your condition, Dr. Ward warned. It's our only chance, Lyra insisted. Ethan was reluctant to risk the princess's life, but he knew she was right. They were out of options. Do it, he said finally. But I'm coming with you. They helped Lyra to the engine room, fighting through groups of Voidborn along the way. Once there, she asked to be connected directly to the ship's computer. This will require all my remaining strength, she warned Ethan. Once it's done, I'll be completely drained until we reach the outpost. Are you sure about this? Ethan asked one last time. Lyra smiled faintly. A princess's duty is to her people, and right now, Captain, you and your crew are fighting for my people. That makes you worthy of my sacrifice. She placed her hands on the control panel. A soft glow spread from her fingers into the ship's systems. The lights flickered and strange symbols appeared on the screens. Astrali script overlaying the human computer language. The engines began to hum with a new tone, deeper and more powerful than before. On the bridge, Maya reported in amazement. Captain, engine efficiency has increased by 300%. Whatever she's doing, it's working. But the cost was high. As the ship accelerated out of the nebula, leaving the pursuing Voidborn vessels temporarily behind, Princess Lyra collapsed. Her skin was now almost colorless, its natural glow completely gone. Medical team to the engine room now, Ethan shouted into his communicator as he caught her falling body. The next few hours were critical. The ship's doctor and Dr. Ward worked desperately to keep the princess alive, while the Intrepid raced toward Proxima Centauri at its new, enhanced speed. Her life signs are stabilizing, but barely, the doctor reported. She's in a sort of suspended animation. I wouldn't call it a coma. It's more like she's hibernating to conserve what little energy she has left. Will she wake up? Ethan asked. I don't know, was the honest reply. This is beyond our medical knowledge. With the princess unconscious, Ethan focused on defending his ship. The Voidborn had fallen behind, but they weren't giving up. Their hunting vessels, the Scythes, were still following, though at a greater distance thanks to the Intrepid's increased speed. Repairs were underway throughout the ship. The damage from the boarding attacks was extensive, but the crew worked tirelessly. They all knew what was at stake, not just their own lives, but possibly the fate of multiple worlds if the Voidborn got hold of the Nexus key that Princess Lyra carried. As they approached the Proxima Centauri system, Ethan studied the data they had on the fourth moon. It was a small, barren world with a thin atmosphere and rugged, cratered surface. The perfect place to hide an ancient outpost. Any sign of the Astrali outpost? He asked as they entered orbit around the moon. Negative, Samantha replied, scanning the surface. If it's there, it's well hidden. Look for anomalies, Ethan suggested. Energy signatures, unusual formations, anything that doesn't look natural. After several passes, they found something, a deep ravine near the moon's north pole that showed faint energy readings. It was the only lead they had. The ship can't land in that terrain, Maya said after studying the area. We'll need to use shuttles. But before they could organize a landing party, sensors detected the Voidborn scythes entering the system. The two shuttles descended through the thin atmosphere of Proxima Centauri's fourth moon. The surface below was harsh and unwelcoming, a landscape of sharp rocks, deep craters, and dust that had remained undisturbed for millions of years. Head for the coordinates of that energy reading, Ethan instructed Maya, who was piloting the lead shuttle. Princess Lyra lay on a medical stretcher behind them, monitored constantly by Dr. Ward. The princess's life signs are getting weaker, the doctor reported. We need to find that outpost soon. Their shuttle landed near the edge of the deep ravine where they had detected the energy signature. The second shuttle, commanded by Samantha, touched down nearby. The security team deployed immediately, forming a defensive perimeter. Sensors show the void-borne landing craft are still about 20 minutes behind us, Samantha reported over the comm. But they're coming in fast. Ethan looked at the ravine stretching before them. It was at least 2 miles long and several hundred feet deep, with jagged walls that would make descent difficult. The moon's lower gravity helped, but it was still a dangerous climb. The energy reading is strongest about halfway down the ravine wall, Maya said, checking her scanner. There might be an entrance there. They carefully loaded Princess Lyra onto a special anti-gravity stretcher that would allow them to transport her over the rough terrain. Dr. Ward continued to monitor her condition, which was deteriorating by the minute. Let's move, Ethan ordered. Samantha, keep 4 of your team up here to delay the Voidborn when they arrive. The rest come with us. They began their descent into the ravine, using ropes and the lower gravity to make their way down the steep walls. The anti-gravity stretcher carrying Lyra floated alongside them, guided by Dr. Ward. About halfway down, as Maya had predicted, they found something unusual, a section of the rock face that was too smooth to be natural. Upon closer inspection, they discovered faint symbols etched into the surface, similar to the Astrali script they had seen when Lyra modified their engines. This must be it, Ethan said, examining the symbols. But how do we get in? As if in answer to his question, Princess Lyra suddenly stirred on her stretcher. Her eyes opened slightly, glowing with a faint blue light. She's responding to the outpost, Dr. Ward said in amazement. It must recognize her Astrali signature. Lyra's hand moved weakly, reaching toward the rock face. Ethan gently took her hand and helped her place it against the smooth stone. The moment her palm touched the surface, the symbols lit up with the same blue glow as her eyes, and a seam appeared in the rock. With a low rumbling sound, a section of the cliff face slid open, revealing a dark tunnel that led deep into the moon. Inside, quickly, Ethan ordered as the sound of void-borne landing craft echoed from above. They moved into the tunnel and the door sealed behind them. Soft lights activated along the walls as they advanced, responding to Lyra's presence. The tunnel opened into a large chamber filled with strange machinery that looked both ancient and incredibly advanced. This technology, Maya whispered in awe. It's like nothing I've ever seen. The chamber was circular with a raised platform in the center. The walls were covered with the same symbols they had seen outside, but here they glowed constantly, pulsing with energy. Above the platform, a holographic display showed star systems and what appeared to be wormhole paths connecting them. The star maps, Dr. Ward realized. This must be what Lyra came to the Voidborn ship to find. They placed the princess's stretcher on the central platform. As soon as she was in position, the machinery around them hummed to life. Streams of light flowed from the walls toward Lyra, surrounding her in a cocoon of energy. What's happening? Ethan asked, concerned. I think the outpost is responding to her, Dr. Ward said, scanning the energy with his instruments. It's healing her somehow. Indeed, color was returning to Lyra's skin. The natural glow of the Astrali was becoming visible again, growing stronger by the second. Her eyes opened fully, clear and alert. Captain, she said, her voice much stronger than before. You did it. You brought me home. Before Ethan could respond, an alarm sounded from Samantha's position outside. Captain, the Voidborn have arrived. They're overwhelming our position. We can't hold them much longer. Seal the entrance, Ethan ordered. Fall back to the tunnel. The security team retreated into the outpost as the Voidborn forces pursued them. The ancient door closed again, but they all knew it wouldn't hold the Voidborn for long. Princess Lyra rose from the platform, her strength visibly returning. We don't have much time. I need to activate the outpost's full systems. She moved to a control panel and placed both hands on it. The symbols on the walls began to move, rearranging themselves as she communicated with the ancient technology. This outpost was built by my ancestors thousands of years ago, she explained as she worked. It's one of several placed throughout the galaxy to monitor the Nexus pathways. What exactly is this Nexus? Ethan asked. It's a point where dimensions intersect, Lyra said. A place of immense power left by the Forerunners who seeded life throughout the cosmos. With it, one could reshape reality itself. That's why it must be protected. A loud explosion shook the chamber. The Voidborn were trying to blast their way through the sealed entrance. They're coming through, Samantha warned, positioning her team to defend the inner chamber. I need more time, Lyra said urgently. The key within me must be properly interfaced with the outpost systems. We'll give you that time, Ethan promised. He joined Samantha and the security team, taking position near the tunnel entrance. The door finally gave way with a thunderous crash. Voidborn soldiers poured in, their weapons firing bursts of dark energy. Ethan and his team returned fire, holding them back at the narrow entrance where their numbers couldn't overwhelm the defenders. The firefight was intense. 2 of Ethan's security officers fell to Voidborn weapons. The rest were forced to fall back deeper into the tunnel. They were outnumbered and outgunned. Then a different figure appeared among the Voidborn, taller than the others with skin that shifted between Voidborn gray and Astrali blue. He wore ornate armor and carried a staff that crackled with energy. Dorak, Ethan recognized the Voidborn commander from Lyra's description. Dorak raised his staff, and a wave of energy knocked Ethan and his team off their feet. The Voidborn commander strode forward, his form continuing to shift between species. You cannot stop what has been in motion for millennia, he said, his voice deep and resonant. The Forerunners intended for species to evolve or perish. The Astrali have chosen stagnation under the guise of guardianship. He approached the inner chamber where Lyra was still working with the outpost's systems. Ethan struggled to his feet and placed himself between Dorak and the princess. You'll have to go through me first, he said, raising his weapon. Dorak moved with incredible speed. Before Ethan could fire, the Voidborn commander knocked the weapon from his hands and struck him with the staff. Pain exploded in Ethan's chest as the staff's energy burned through his suit and into his flesh. A brave but futile gesture, human, Dorak said. Your species is young, but you show promise. Join me, and I will ensure humans have a place in the new order I will create with the Nexus. Never. Ethan gasped through the pain. Dorak raised his staff for a killing blow, but before he could strike, a brilliant light filled the chamber. Princess Lyra stood on the central platform, her body glowing so brightly that it was difficult to look at her directly. You forgot the true purpose of guardianship. Dorak, she said, her voice echoing with power. It was never about preventing change, it was about ensuring that change serves all life, not just the ambitions of individuals. Dorak turned to face her, his expression a mixture of rage and fear. You don't have the power to stop me, princess. The royal line has grown weak over generations of peace, perhaps, Lyra acknowledged. But I have something you don't, the true key to the Nexus. She raised her hands and the energy flowing around her intensified. A beam of pure light shot from her to Dorak, connecting them. The Voidborn commander screamed as the energy enveloped him. What are you doing to me? He demanded. Healing you, Lyra said simply. Removing the corrupted genetics you grafted onto yourself. Returning you to what you once were. Before everyone's eyes, Dorak's form stabilized, the shifting between species stopping. The gray Voidborn aspects of his appearance faded away, leaving only the blue-skinned form of an Astrali male. He fell to his knees, looking at his hands in shock. You were one of us once, Lyra said more gently, a scientist who believed the Astrali were not doing enough with their guardianship. You experimented on yourself, corrupting your own genetic code to gain what you saw as advantages. The other Voidborn soldiers, seeing their leader transformed, backed away in confusion. Without Dorak's commanding presence, they seemed uncertain what to do. Lyra turned her attention to Ethan, who lay badly wounded on the chamber floor. You risked everything for me, she said softly, kneeling beside him. Now I understand my mother's vision. The prophecy wasn't about my rescue, it was about what comes after. The outpost systems activated fully, responding to Lyra's commands. A healing chamber opened in the wall near the platform. With the help of Dr. Ward and Maya, they moved Ethan's failing body into it,